Hello, third grade, and welcome to our first social studies video. We're going to be beginning with Unit 1, the Geography of North America and the Caribbean. Now, before we get started, there's a few things I would like to show you. One of the things you can do is you can log in to the online curriculum where you'll be able to see the book and other important information using the login that I already sent to your parents. Once you get there, you're going to scroll down until you see Grade 3, Network Social Studies, the United States Communities and Neighbors. Go ahead and press launch. Now, once we get there, we're going to make sure we're on Unit 1, and we're going to begin with our opener for week 1. As you go through the lessons, you'll find a lot of extra information and larger maps for you to view here in this area. And also, if you misplace your materials, you need a fresh copy of pages, you can always go over here to the menu, click on resources. That'll take you here. And you can go to Unit 1. You can either press student portfolio pages, which will give you one page at a time, or you can press unit resources, and this will give you all of Unit 1 to download. So all of the pages from Unit 1, you'll be able to download here. It will take a minute for it to load because you are going to be opening several pages at a time. Another place that you can find this information is in our shared folder. So if you go to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade documents for distance learning, and you open the All Social Studies folder, you can go directly into 3rd grade, and you can download 3rd grade Social Studies Unit 1. And that's going to give you the exact same pages that we're going to be working on, where you can save them in case you need a fresh copy. So I'm going to go through your lesson up through page 14, and that's going to take you through everything you need for this week. Now, when we start our unit, we have the unit number and the unit title, and we have the big idea. So the big idea is what we're going to be learning about throughout the entire unit, which is location affects how people live. So the place where someone lives will affect what kind of lifestyle they're going to have. Every location on Earth is different. Some areas have low flatland that is good for growing crops. Other areas have tall mountains, sandy deserts, or frozen ground where only certain plants will grow. What do you know? What do you already know about the physical features of North America and the Caribbean? How do maps help us understand places on Earth? In this unit, you'll read about the land in the United States and in our neighboring countries. As you read, think about how the location of a place affects the things that the things that are living there. Now, the next part is our show as you go page. So after reading each lesson, you're going to come back and you're going to fill in information into these boxes. So after lesson 1, label the countries and color the map. So over here, it gives you the different colors that you need to use. You need to put the name of the country in each one of the areas, and you need to make it the right color. After the other lessons, fill in the boxes with information about the physical features, landmarks, climate, vegetation, which means things that grow there, like different kinds of plants, and natural resources of each region. You will use these notes in a unit project later. So make sure you are taking these notes because they are going to come in very handy. Okay, now at the beginning of each unit, we're going to go over a skill. We're going to learn about it, we're going to try it, and then we're going to apply it, which means we're going to do it on our own. So our reading skill for today is how to analyze visuals. Have you ever heard the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words? You can learn a lot of information by studying photographs, maps, and other images. Visuals like these can help you better understand the text you're reading what the text you're reading is telling you. You can also tell a story they can also tell a story all on their own. So when we analyze, that means we're looking closely, we're trying to understand the visuals. Visuals means pictures. So we're looking very closely to understand better from the pictures that they give us. Learn it. Look at the visual on this page. Ask, what does this visual show me? As you read the text, look at the visual. Ask, how does this visual help me understand what I'm reading? After you read, ask, what extra information does the visual provide? So what more am I learning from the picture that I didn't learn from the words that I was reading already? The swamps of Louisiana are an important wetland area in the United States. This is home to many kinds of plants not found anywhere else in the country. Shallow ponds cover most of the swamp, providing hiding places for alligators. This paragraph has information that is supported by the photograph. Photograph means picture. So over here, the words that we're reading tell us more about the picture that we're seeing. This photograph illustrates the text in the paragraph, so it draws a picture of what we were reading about up here. It also shows additional information, or it tells us more things. An alligator living in the swamp of Louisiana. So what we're reading about here, the picture helps us to understand it better because it lets us see it. So over here, after we finished our reading, we can see, answer these questions now. What does the visual show? It shows many kinds of plants. So right here, we can underline many kinds of plants because we're seeing different plants in the photo. When we ask, how does it help me understand? It's helping us to understand what shallow ponds look like. So it's an area of water that's not very deep. And it also tells us about alligators. So we can underline the alligator because it helps us to imagine or picture what that thing looks like or what the animal that they're talking about looks like because it gives us a picture. Try it. You can make a list of details in paragraphs and photographs to help you understand what you're reading. Fill in the chart below with details from the paragraph and the photograph on page 4. You can underline information in the paragraph to help. You can underline information in the paragraph to help identify details. So some of the things that we were talking about over here, we can start listing them over here. Now, once you've completed that section, we're going to go on to the Apply It page. Use a photograph to complete the paragraph below about the dogwood tree. The dogwood tree is Missouri's state tree. The flowers are the state flower of North Carolina. The dogwood tree also has blank that are white to pink. So what is it that we're seeing in the picture that's white to pink? You can see that over here, the flowers go from white to pink on the edges. What else does the picture tell you about the dogwood tree? So you can talk about how many flowers are growing on it, about the shape and color of those flowers and the shape and color of the branches. You can add as many details as you like down here on page 5. Now moving on to page 6. Over here are words to know. So these are going to be vocabulary words that you're going to see while we're reading through our lesson. Your first word is geography. Your second word is distortion. Your third word is elevation, then climate, vegetation, tundra, arable land, and arid. So when we move on to this side, we're going to see the vocabulary words with their meanings, but then we're also going to get asked questions about those vocabulary words. So as you read through it, fill in the area on the right. Geography is the study of the earth and the way living things use it. Write a sentence that describes the geography where you live. So you'd write a sentence over here about the area that you live in and about the earth and the way the living things in that area use the earth. Distortion is when an object loses its original size and shape. Write two things that could change because of distortion. So what are the two things they mention over here that change when something becomes distorted? You're going to list those two things right here. Elevation is the height of land above sea level. Write a sentence using the word elevation. So elevation is how tall something is above where the water level usually is. Climate is the weather of a place over a long period of time. Write two words that describe the climate where you live. Now, climate is different than just your daily weather. Today could be sunny, tomorrow could be rainy, but if you live in a place where it's sunny most of the time, the climate may be hot and dry. If you live in like a rainforest, for example, it's going to be hot and wet over there because it rains all the time. A desert is hot and dry all the time. Vegetation. Vegetation is the plants that grow in an area. Write two words that are examples of vegetation. So two different kinds right here. A tundra is a treeless plain where only grasses and moss grow. So a tundra is a pretty warm, dry place. It doesn't have trees, just a lot of tall grass. Arable land is land that's good for farming. So land where you can grow a lot of different kinds of crops because it has good soil, it gets good rainfall, all the things that plants need to grow. Arid means very dry. Write an antonym for the word arid. Remember, the word antonym means opposite. So you need to find the opposite of the word arid. As we move through, we're also going to talk about primary sources. Now, a primary source is made or written by someone who was there when that thing happened, or that saw it happen or heard it happen themselves. You're not hearing it from somebody else or seeing something that somebody else made. It's something that they were present for. Historical maps. Primary sources are written or made by someone who saw an event happen. They teach us about the people, places, and events. A map is one type of primary source. A map is something that's used by people to learn more about the place on Earth. Maps that were made long ago can teach us about what a place was like in the past. You can analyze or study maps to learn more about places on Earth. Look at the historical map. As you analyze a map, think about the details that tell you what this region was like in the past. The details tell you that the map maker explored this place long ago. Number 1. What detail tells you this map was made long ago? So you're going to go ahead and take a look at your map. And this we can actually go over here to our site to take a look at. So if you go back out into the main area where we were, we can click through here. Oops, let's go back. And we can click through until we see the map, and then we're able to make it much bigger and see that it was a very large map. So when you're looking at the map, what is it on the map that tells you that this was made long ago? Now we know that Florida isn't made up of East and West Florida anymore. Now it's just one state. So we know that when we're seeing Florida broken up into separate pieces, we know that must have been from a long time ago, because that's not the way that we see Florida now. Number 2, how does the map look different from a map you would see today? You would go ahead and put your answer in right there. Now, as we work through, we're going to hop into lesson 1. So unit 1, lesson 1. We just completed the unit opener. Lesson 1 is called A Place in Our World. Now, when you first start a lesson, on the left is the essential question. So this area right here. Why is it important to know about where we live? What do you think? So you're going to write your answer about why you think it's important to know about the places that we live. And underneath it, where it says words to know, write a number on each line to show how much you know about the meaning of each word. So these are the words we're going to come across during our reading. If you have no idea what the word means, you can put a 1 next to it. If you know a little bit about that word, you would put a 2 next to it. Or if you know a lot about that word, you would put a 3 next to it. So you would go ahead and take time to put an answer for your essential question and number your words to know. You can pause the video if you like while you do that. Otherwise, we're going to move into the reading. Geography is the study of Earth and the way living things use it. You can read and look at pictures to learn about geography. You can also use a globe or a map. You can find North America. Can you find North America on a globe? What can a map tell you about a place? In this unit, you'll learn about the physical geography of North America and the Caribbean. We will begin by looking at our world as a whole. To understand where we live, let's look at a globe. A globe is a model of the Earth. It shows the Earth's land and water. A globe is a sphere. It's round like a ball. You can only see half of the globe at a time. The part of the globe that you see is a hemisphere, which means half of a sphere. Like a globe, a map also shows Earth's land and water. However, a map is flat. When you look at a map from a map of the world, you can see all the land and water on Earth at the same time. If you stretch the surface of a globe to make it flat like a map, you would change the size and shape of Earth's land and water. The shapes on Earth would become distorted. Distortion is when an object loses its original shape, size, and shape, like the boy in the picture. Earth's land is divided into continents. A continent is a large area of land separated from other areas by water, mountains, or other natural features. There are 7 continents on Earth. Can you name them? The largest areas of water on Earth are called oceans. There are 5 oceans on Earth. Can you name the 5 oceans? So let's take a look at the pictures that we have here. Now this top picture is a map, and we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oceans here. Whoops, that one. We have our Pacific, we have our Atlantic, Indian, Southern, and Arctic oceans. Now, when we're talking about distortion, think about those mirrors you see at a carnival where the mirrors are kind of wavy, and when you look at yourself in them, it makes you look really funny. That mirror distorts your reflection. It doesn't show you the way you actually are. It kind of shows you a funny, stretched out version of yourself. Look at the map above. Explain how it is distorted. So we're talking about this map. Go ahead and take a minute to answer that question. And over here, what do you see on the globe? Take a minute to answer this question. Please remember to use complete sentences in all of your writing. Where on Earth are you? We use maps to find places. The flowchart below uses different maps to show where you are. First, you live in a community in a state. A state is part of the United States. The United States, Canada, and Mexico are countries on the continent of North America. Draw your community in the blank box on the flowchart. Over here, you're going to draw your community or your neighborhood. Number 2, draw a picture of your state. Draw a small X on the map to show where your community is located, and then color your state yellow. So over here, you're going to draw your state and put a little X on where you are in that state. Over here, you're going to color your state yellow. And then over here on this map, color the United States red on the map of North America. So over here, you have to figure out where on this map the United States is, and you're going to color it with red. Then we're going to move on over here. Label the 5 oceans on the map of the world. Look at the numbers on the map, write the names of the continent below. So you're going to be doing 2 things. First, you're going to label the oceans here. And then down here, you're going to write the name of the continent that matches that number. So number 1 is up here. Which continent is this? If you're not sure, You can always go back to the previous pages that show you the continents and the oceans. Now, these are really important because they will show up on your assessments later. Review basic map elements. You've learned about maps before, so let's use the map on page 15 to review what you know. What is the title of this map? So over here on page 15 is this page right here. So we're talking about this map. What is the title of this map? Make sure you list it right here. Circle the compass rose on the map. What is it used for? So you have to do two things. You have to come over to the map and find the compass rose, and then you have to answer on the line to tell us what a compass rose is used for. Number 3, in which direction would you travel to get from Miami to Ottawa? So Miami is way down here, and Ottawa is right here. So you have to tell us which direction you would have to go to get from Miami to Ottawa. Number 4, in which direction would you travel to get from Denver to New Orleans? So Denver is going to be right here, and New Orleans is going to be right here. Find the map scale on the map and label it. About how many miles is it from St. Louis to Chicago and from San Francisco to Phoenix? So over here from St. Louis to Chicago, you're going to tell me about how many miles it is. And from San Francisco to Phoenix, you're going to tell me about how many miles it is. You're going to go to the map and you're going to find the scale. You're going to label it. So you're going to write map scale on top of it or next to it. And then you're going to estimate or guess about how far these are based on the map scale. Number 6, look at the numbers and letters on the grid. In which square is Edmonton, Canada? So you're going to, when we're looking at the squares, so if we're looking at this square down here, this is D1, because we can see that it's by this letter and this number. We can see that this part of the United States is on the line that has 2 and on the line that has the letter C. So this part of the United States is in C2. So you're going to find Edmonton, Canada, and figure out which square it's in. So which letter and which number. And number 7, draw the symbol for national capitals that's used in the map legends. So the capitals, the national capitals have their own symbol that you'll find on the map. You're going to copy that right here. And then on to page 15. Actually, I'm going to take you through lesson 1, and then you can reuse this video for the tail end of lesson 1 and then the beginning of lesson 2 as we move on. Page 15, use a political map. Look at the map of North America. This is a political map. Political maps show borders or boundaries between places. 3 of the largest countries in North America, Canada, the United States, and Mexico, are shown on the map. So up here we have Canada, here's the United States, and Alaska up here is part of the United States. That's why they're the same color. And then down here is Mexico. The Caribbean is shown on the map too. And these are these green islands over here. This group of islands is the Caribbean. The Caribbean is a group of islands near North America that is made up of small countries and commonwealths. A commonwealth is a territory that has its own government, but also has strong ties to another nation. Puerto Rico and the Bahamas are both commonwealths. So they have their own governments, but they're also tied very closely to the United States government. We're going to answer the question down here. What is the purpose of a political map? So you can take a minute to pause the video, fill in your answer over here using a complete sentence. If you don't remember, go back up and read this section right here that tells us what political maps are and why we have them. Page 16, use a physical map. Now, when we're talking about a physical map, we're talking about a map that shows us what the area is physically like. Does it have mountains? Does it have rivers? Does it have canyons? Look at the map of North America. This is a physical map. Physical maps show landforms or shapes on Earth's surface. Rivers, lakes, deserts, and mountains are all landforms. How can you tell the landforms apart? Map makers use different colors or shading for each landform. For example, water is usually blue, and areas around mountains are shaded. So over here, if you take a look at it, you can see how you can tell that there's mountains over here because they look kind of bumpy from the way that that area of the map was colored. You can see over here that the blue area is area where we have water, and you can see that kind of in between where the Great Lakes are and where different rivers run. You can see up here where the Hudson Bay is. All of these areas are in blue because there's water there. And usually if you see an area that's got a lot of white, we know there's usually going to be some snow in that area. What is the purpose of a physical map? So take a minute to write a complete sentence over here for your answer. You can pause the video if you like. Use an elevation map. Have you ever wondered why the water in a river moves? The answer is because water runs downhill. Every river begins at a higher elevation than where it ends. So it starts higher up and then it flows downward. Elevation is how high the land is above the sea. Elevation maps help us to learn about the height of land. These maps use different colors to show the heights. The map key, also called a map legend, shows the colors that stand for different elevations. So over here we have an elevation map of North America, and we can see over here on our map key or our map legend that the different colors stand for different heights. So we have it in feet and we have it in meters. So we know that red is about 10,000 feet above sea level, but the green, the dark green, is at sea level. So it's the same level with the water. So if we're looking over here where we have different mountains, those are going to be some of those orangey red colors because those are going to be a lot taller than sea level. And we can see just from looking at the map that there must be mountains in these areas and there must be some mountains in these areas because they're closer to the red-orange side than they are to the green side. Number 1 down here, what is the purpose of an elevation map? Number 2, what is the range of elevation along the Gulf of Mexico? So over here is the Gulf of Mexico. Take a look at the range. So what is the highest point and what is the lowest point from looking at this scale? So from how many feet to how many feet? The lowest feet to the highest feet in just this area. Use a population map. Another type of map is a population map. It shows how many people live in an area. Below is a population map of Ohio. As you can see, many people live in the area around Columbus, but some areas have a small population. Notice that the population is lower in Northeast Ohio. So over here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see that our map has a title, the population of Ohio, and we see that it has a legend or a map key that tells us what those different colors mean. So from 1 million to 1,280,000, those are going to be red. From 300,000 up to just under 1 million is going to be orange, and then it goes lower and lower and lower. What is the purpose of this map? So why do we have population maps? What are they used for? You're going to write a complete sentence for your answer there. And number 2, what type of map scale is used on this map? So find the map scale. That's going to be this guy right here. What type of map scale is used on the map? Now, when we want to know about map scales, we're going to read more over here and we'll be able to decide. No matter what type of map you use, a map scale is a useful tool. A map scale shows the distance from one location to another. Map makers use different types of map scales to measure the distance between locations. A linear scale uses a straight line. Miles and kilometers are shown on the line. A linear scale is best to measure long distances like the distance from Cincinnati to Cleveland. A word scale, also called the language scale, actually has words in it. You might use a word scale if you're making a map of a city. For example, 1 inch on the map might be equal to 1 mile in the city. It will be written like this: 1 inch equals 1 mile. A fractional map uses fractions like 1 over 100. This type of scale would be useful if you were making a map of small areas such as your classroom. 1 inch on your map might be equal to 100 inches in the classroom. So we have our map scale here, and we have 3 different kinds of map scales that we talked about: a linear scale, a word scale, and a fractional scale. So I want you to take a look and decide what kind of scale this one is and write it down on a line. Circle the map scale you might use if you made a map of your city. So out of these three, circle the one that you would use to make a map of your city. Think, pair, share. Think about how globes and maps help us understand where we live. Share your ideas with a partner. And then you're going to answer your essential question down here. Why is it important to know about where we live? So you're going to answer with complete sentences. And right here is reminding you to go back to the show as you go page at the very beginning. So that's way back up here. Here's the show as you go page. And you're going to put in your answer after reading lesson 1. So it says after lesson 1, label the countries and color the map. So the 3 countries that we have here, plus the islands, you're going to label them, you're going to write down their names next to them, and then you're going to color your map. And that will take you all the way through the end of lesson 1. Once you've completed all of those pages using complete sentences and checked your answers, you'll be able to move on to the lesson 1 quiz. That's all I've got for you today, 3rd grade. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.